But again, my name is Jenna. I'm the Director for Customer Success here in the UK. I'm really pleased to be here with you today. It was just such an inspirational morning, right? There was so much that was announced very first on, and then all of a sudden we were taken on a ride where we were talking about agentic AI in the future and beauty, then Louis Theroux. So here in this session, we're here to anchor down on a little bit about what does this all mean for you? What are you actually going to walk away today with and be able to do differently because of the things that we're launching? And hopefully also some practical tips about how to actually bring that to life in your organizations, because unfortunately, there's no magic wand. You do actually have to adopt these tools to get value from them. So everybody with me on the ride, I went with the future. What do we all think about when we go to the future? Space. So my first thing we talk about with space today, probably not what you're thinking, a paintbrush. So I'm going to take you back on a little journey. NASA, back in the 1980s, decided they were going to be doing their first orbit with the space station being manned out in space. So people were going to be living out there. And they had a lot of different tools that they needed to develop in order to be able to make those missions possible. One thing they thought of is that they have solar panels that have to be maintained. They have to actually brush off the stardust to make sure that they're operating at optimal capacity. And they needed a way to do that. So they spent literally millions of dollars developing a state-of-the-art robotic arm that could turn in zero gravity, was able to operate at all different temperatures, because you can imagine it's really cold in space, so lubrication, all the problems there. And amazingly, it had 11 degrees of motion. Let's just all think about that, 90 degrees of motion. It went 11 degrees, and that was NASA's best, okay? They spent, as I mentioned, $8 million developing this technology. But the reason I love this story is that they didn't actually think about what was the day-to-day of the life on that space station. They didn't look at the routines of the astronauts that were in space. Did it fit into their routines? Did they have any of the training? And along with everything else that they were thinking about that was mission critical, they just completely failed to train the teams that were going to be using this amazing robotic arm. And so they ended up bringing an $8 million paintbrush. The astronauts went downtown to the hardware store, bought a paintbrush, and brought that on the space station with them, and that's what they took on their day-to-day routines when they went out and did their spacewalks and cleaned the solar panels. There was a whole lot more that they could have done with that robotic arm, and the intention wasn't just to build it to be able to brush off the solar panels, but they completely missed out on unlocking all of that value. And if NASA can do this, I think we can all admit that this is something that all of us are capable of as well, not just with Contentsquare, but with our entire tech stack. And we all know it. So I've given you lots of information this morning. You heard from Jane and Vijay and Andrew Taylor talking about all the amazing things that we're launching. So my question is, now what? It's all up to you to take all of these amazing things and bring them to life and take it back to your teams and help them be prepared for the future and listen to your customers to deliver delightful experiences. So today is your mission briefing. Yep, I'm going to stick with the theme, I promise you. And I promise you that rockets and LoveHoney had nothing to do with each other when I was deciding on this theme. Also, I am shamelessly and really in love with the fact that I get to have them on stage. They're an amazing customer, but I also get to make all of you uncomfortable. So my metric of success today is how many times I've made all of you blush. So I'll be taking a poll afterwards today. So have some fun. Feel free to laugh along. I'm not going to be taking names afterwards. But in your mission briefing, here's the thing. Everything we did today is going to be that we launched today is going to be solving problems for you tangibly. We're actually thinking about what is it that is the biggest problems for you as a customer today that we're going to be able to change. And when we did our own user research, we heard things like this. Every single customer that I've spoken with in the last couple of years has said, I want my team to be more data-driven. Nobody wants to be making decisions based off of opinions. Nobody has time to do things 10 times. You have to be listening to the data signals that your customers are giving you, especially if you're taking the time to implement tags with Contentsquare and our tech partners. So everything that we launched today is going to help you become data-driven. We also hear this from every single customer. We have so much data. Houston, we have too much data, right? It's really hard to stay on top of what's important. And all of us, even the best of us as digital practitioners, people who are really advanced analysts, have a really hard time knowing how to use every tool. Every single tool, we're aware, also continues to launch new products at you, and it's just hard to keep up. So we've launched this to make sure that it's simpler for you to stay on top of what's really important. And then the third thing I'm hearing from everybody is the tech teams and the data teams who help us implement all of our solutions and all of our changes are best friends, and we spend time together all the time. This one's a fake one. Thank you for laughing. Not a single customer I've spoken to has ever said this, right? And you actually heard this earlier today when we talked about Data Connect, that we don't have great connections internally at our businesses to be sharing the insights that are happening on the front end. and the actual tangible changes that need to happen on the back end. And so hopefully all the things that we're working on today, bringing all those data sources together, are really going to help break down those silos for all of the teams. So what does that mean for you? This is just kind of a recap of everything that we launched today. With Sense and Copilot, we're going to let you be smarter. We're going to actually allow you to go in and do deeper, wider analysis, more people in your organization becoming analysts because we're lowering that barrier to entry. With AI summaries and VOC summaries, all the same amazing data is just going to be able to get at your fingertips faster. The insights are going to be faster because you're not going to be spending tons of time actually digging into these. We're going to summarize that for you and tell you what's important. And with Data Connect, we're going to be able to help the impact of your data and the things you're doing on the front end to deliver delightful experiences really reach that broader impact by allowing you to connect it with critical commercial and business data. So smarter, faster, broader, kind of sounds like a Kanye song. If you want to think about this, this is what we're delivering to you today. So it's not some agentic future AI. It's here, it's now, and it's in your fingertips. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of use cases. I didn't slide you to death. I didn't do tons of demos because I think sometimes that gets a little intangible. So just walk with me through these. But when I think about what I'm most excited about, it's what it's going to unlock. These are the 5 use cases that I think are going to be something you can take away today and really enact to change your business. First, with Copilot is the guided analysis. You guys all saw when you put in a natural question, it gave you the answer, but then it also told you what to do next. This is really lowering the barrier to entry for all of your new starters, but even for people that are really advanced practitioners, use data every day. How many of you have a favorite part of Contentsquare and you just go there every time you log in? Okay, no one, everyone else is perfect, excellent, so this is not for you. But if you have that pattern, this is actually going to help those advanced practitioners start to broaden their analysis, maybe use parts of the tool they hadn't used previously. And we're really hoping that that impact is going to help you do much more in-depth analysis. With AI session replays, I actually heard this horrible thing years ago from a customer that they hired an intern to sit and watch replays and then note down all of the interesting things that they saw. I feel so poorly for that person that got hired to do that job. That sounds like maybe the worst job on the planet. But with AI session replays, session replay summaries, that job, it no longer exists, thank God. So if any of you are spending your hours doing that, your time is back to you, so you're welcome. But more importantly, it's going to be able to dig into those frustration insights really quickly. So when things are going wrong, you're going to see, as you saw today, which customers are having high friction, exactly what's happening in that, in a high level, without even having to look at the session replay. So instantly being able to fix those frustrations before they have business impact. The third that I love with Data Connect, how many of you are actually integrating with a data warehouse today? Okay, 2 or 3. I think that means that there's definitely opportunity here. There's a really stable, amazing, robust data set of behavioral data that can be combined, like we said, with all of your back-end data, with your commercial data, to provide really rich insights. And one of the use cases for this is retargeting. So especially thinking about how expensive customers are right now to acquire. If any of you are listening to our benchmark data, mix it with your back-end marketing tools, and then being able to retarget those customers to bring them back and re-engage them is a way to make the most out of customers that you've already paid for. So those are just some that we've seen that are going to be really simple ways to use Data Connect, but really for that front-end experience. For voice of the customer and the AI summaries, I know that you guys have seen, hopefully, now this is a tool that we launched a long time ago, that you can actually use AI to build delightful customer surveys, without actually having to define what you want. Just put in a question and it'll build the perfect survey for you. The most important is looking at the sentiment and then building that sentiment to be able to fix the UI issues that are causing those maybe negative experiences that people are taking the time to tell you about. So thinking about anyone launching a feature, so if you have a brand new feature or a product that's launching, and then maybe customers have a positive or a negative experience, you're going to be able to take negative sentiment and link that to those issues so that you can quantify that and take that to your dev teams and say, hey, we need to adjust the product feature that we just came out with because it's tanking our conversion rate, or it's really delivering a negative NPS. So amazing way to just be able to take qual data, immediately take it to tangible action. And finally, with mobile, if you aren't using the same rich data sets on your mobile applications, you are really leaving value on the table. I think all of us have we've been beaten over the head over the years with the mobile stick. I think we all get it. Mobile is king, higher conversion rates, it's better loyalty, but it is where some of the magic happens, and you cannot afford to have negative experiences if you're not listening to your customers on mobile. Then you're leaving that value on the table and saying that that doesn't matter to you. So especially with the looking at the content on mobile that drives the best loyalty behaviors, looking at things like average order value, lifetime value of customers, conversion over multiple sessions. Those are things that really drive loyalty, and they're signals that there's loyal customers behind that. And you can actually take those segments and engage with them and interact with them on other platforms as well. So those are just 5 of the key use cases. There's literally hundreds of these that we've already thought about. So I would encourage you all to think about, what are you going to take away? What's the biggest project that you have right now? And what have we launched that could really change how you work tomorrow? And that was my slide that was supposed to make that point. What I would also encourage you to think about is, I've just given you a bunch of tools, and they're all amazing, but unfortunately, Contentsquare doesn't sell money printers. And what I mean by that is, you still have to use the tool to get value. Just because you have really advanced technology does not mean you're going to unlock automatic value. You still have to build the programming internally to use this, to build it into your daily life. Just like we heard about with NASA, it doesn't matter if you build a really expensive robotic arm or you buy these amazing tools. If you don't think about how you're going to use this in your day-to-day, you are going to leave value on the table. So I'm going to challenge all of you to think about all these new tools and think of your own business as NASA operations. And why I take inspiration from them is because it isn't just about the launch operations. You know, that's nice. We have a nice onboarding, everybody's happy, we're all going to get amazing value, we've got a 3-year contract, it's great. It's actually what happens after that that matters about getting the value, right? And NASA have an entire operations team that take over from that launch team, and then they run daily operations. They constantly iterate. They're focusing on what the key metrics are. They're thinking about not just the long-term longevity of the astronauts, but what the overall arching mission of the entire project is. And they're constantly iterating to make sure that they achieve that. And I really recommend that all of you continue to think about it like NASA operations as well. So train like your crew depends on it, because your crew does depend on it. Your teams really do matter to you. I know you do because I talk to you every day about it. But make sure that you're giving them the tools to be successful. Build habits, right? It's easy to drop things if it's just a nice to have. You need to find the spaces and the time to build these into your operations, into your reporting, into the accountability frameworks you build out, whether that be KPIs, OKRs, all the acronyms. Finally, I would say, make insights really visible, high and wide. I think sometimes we find that our customers that are really great using the tool don't often tell other parts of the business or executives that are making business decisions about what's happening. So I would really encourage you to think about not just doing the work and getting great results. How do you talk about it? How do you promote that? How do you share that data up to people who need to know about the different insights that you're finding? And then finally, I don't know if we have any product people in the room, but I would think about treating Contentsquare itself like a product. So having people who are product manager, and that would be your champions, people who are responsible and accountable for ensuring the leverage of this, that it's aligned to your objectives, that it really makes sense and it's actually building business outcomes. So these are just a few of my hacks that I would say treat your team like NASA operations. Our most successful customers are the ones that really take this in and embed that. And speaking of our most successful customers, I'm really excited to bring one of them to the stage now, who not only works for an incredible customer that's been with Contentsquare for 6 years, but also has herself been really a champion for building out the breadth of programming and the adoption at LoveHoney. So I'm very pleased to announce to the stage, Kayleigh, please join me up here on the stage. Welcome, welcome.
Hi.
So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to give you the opportunity just to go ahead and give an intro to everybody else. Oh, go ahead and...
Mic off already? That's great.
That's all right.
No.
Give it a little go. This is one of those things that the world being optimized for men. Mics on dresses, on stage.
This working?
Can you still hear her? Right, restart. Thank you so much for joining us on the stage today. I first just want to start with LoveHoney as a company. You want to give us the story about the business, what they do for anyone that's not aware, and what you do with your role there.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody's still got their wristbands on, right? I think we were going to use this as a moment to say whether you actually know who LoveHoney are. So green, yes. Orange, maybe, not quite sure. Red, no idea.
Hold them up.
My boss has got green, that's good.
Excellent.
Oh, lots of greens.
Yeah,
nice.
Lots of greens.
Okay.
Okay, we got a warm room.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't need to spend too much time going over what we do.
I'm really loving
too many
these
disclaimers.
Bracelets.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. I might take some if anybody doesn't want theirs, by the way.
A nice impromptu use for today. So For anybody who doesn't know, LoveHoney are the UK's #1 sex toy retailer. So if you by any means are not comfortable with that topic, now's probably the time for you to leave the room. Hopefully you are feeling settled and happy for us to discuss that here. So yeah, as Jenna mentioned, we have been a Contentsquare client for the best part of 6 years now. I have been with LoveHoney for 8.5 years, which is a bit scary. So yeah, onboarded pretty early on in my journey. I was actually over in Australia with LoveHoney when we onboarded with Contentsquare. It was a new shiny tool that I heard of in emails but didn't get visibility of straight away, but the hype was immediately there. So as soon as I made it back, just before COVID, yeah, I got my teeth stuck in.
Absolutely, amazing. I think it's really helpful also as we're going through it to realize it was a journey, right? This took many years for LoveHoney to be as mature of a customer as they have been, but it's genuinely so embedded in what you do every day. I'm always constantly impressed with what we're seeing from your team. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got it embedded across the organization?
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, it was the new shiny thing that everybody was getting visibility of. Before that, we were flying a little bit blind. I think in hindsight, timing was fantastic. COVID was an interesting time for a lot of retailers, but oddly enough, for LoveHoney, when you shut people in their houses with not a huge amount else to do, they turned to industry.
What are you
like
talking
us.
about?
Yeah, yeah, no idea. Yeah, no, oddly enough, people came to us in their masses.
In their time of crisis.
Very much so. So yeah, people were coming at us faster than we could actually work with them. Pardon the pun.
Oh.
I think it's just going to be full of those today.
Yeah, please. I love the puns. It's so great. Nothing like two women on stage talking about sex toys at a tech conference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think where we were having to have to learn much faster than we've ever learned before. We never had anything to help us make those decisions before. So having Contentsquare to help strip out a bit of that opinion. There was an influx of more people coming into the business as well because we needed that resource to actually manage the demand. We could be much quicker and smarter with what we needed to do. So I know you were explaining about how the commercial side and the tech side are usually relatively siloed. We have the benefit of a digital product team at LoveHoney who kind of straddle both. And I think that's been part of our success in that the trading teams have kind of championed the product, but then also the digital product guys I know have really got into the detail in Contentsquare as well and kind of championed it from their side of the business. So it's kind of helped that conversation naturally flow. That has, of course, trickled down into near enough every vertical within LoveHoney, and if people don't know what Contentsquare is, they soon put their hand up and kind of go, hey, what's this thing that you're talking about? Of which we'll kind of introduce the topic to those individuals, those teams. It's it feels weird to talk about because it's so natural to us. I know when you're saying, like, how have you done it?
What's your magic?
Yeah, it's kind of always been there, and I think it's just kind of snowballed from there.
I think even though it feels so natural, which is exactly what we want to hear, it definitely stems from it's critical.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like every part of your business, every operation, kind of back to those daily habits. You guys have the evergreen dashboards. You're building into your reporting into your daily flows for each part of the business. So it does feel natural because it's something people lean on to do their day-to-day job.
Yeah, and I think as we've had newer teams join the business as well, we've kind of been sure to champion what the tool can do from them from the get-go.
Yeah.
So it is naturally part of their day-to-day as soon as they start, and then they kind of build that reliance on it being there as well. So we're at the point now where we're kind of talking about a champion per team, per department, as opposed to just me flying the flag over in the trading team.
Well, I think that kind of leads me to my next question around adoption, because I think that champion per user or per team really aligns to the fact that we're a pretty complex platform now.
Yeah.
We offer a lot of solutions for lots of different teams and no one-size-fits-all solution. So I guess my question is, with so many new tools launching, how are you setting your team up for sustainable success and scaling all of that Contentsquare can do for them, ensuring they get value?
Yeah, for sure. I think the trading teams themselves will still be the heaviest users of the platform itself, and I think it's fair to say that the team members already have their own natural strengths in the parts of the tool that they really enjoy. I think it was a bit of a running joke once that we were the heaviest users of mappings, which
it was
not a sexy part of Contentsquare, if we're very honest. But LoveHoney loved mappings at one point. So I think the team itself will naturally kind of find their flow in which part of the tool is most natural to them.
Sure.
And we'll look to champion that across the trading teams to then feed that out into the wider business. They kind of know that they can come to me or they can come to XYZ for each of those elements. I think that will naturally do that. I know we're going to talk about Sense later.
We are.
I think that will also be great for new adopters.
We'll save that for the AI.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit from the adoption tricks, but thank you so much for sharing that. And if anyone wants to talk to her about how she's been able to achieve this or what their setup is, I know that she's an open book, so please feel free to approach her about adoption hacks. Switching gears a little bit to maybe some tangible use cases, because I love being able to share that with the community that are in it every day. And I think some of the work that you have done is just so universally applicable. So starting with nav redesign, tell me a little bit about how you approached that. And I know it was using multiple parts of the site, so just kind of walking us through your journey with that.
Yeah, for sure. So we kept the screenshots relatively tame today. We thought we'd keep it to just our navigation on the side, but maybe a few categories that you may not be familiar with over on the right-hand side. I think that's kind of the starting point for navigation for us is our category isn't maybe the most common for a lot of people, and they might not necessarily know their way around. We have the benefit of looking at it 5 days a week. I've been here 8 years. I know the categories relatively well. We kind of had to distance ourselves from that knowledge that we have embedded within the business itself to kind of understand how the customer was interacting with the navigation to start with. So we started in journey analysis to kind of get a really good view of most common journeys within the platform. So this might not necessarily be related immediately to navigation, but we want to see what are people doing? What are our best routes to product through the site? We then took it into zoning. So I think zoning is a very popular module
Indeed.
For all Contentsquare customers, of which we were able to extract the data in a couple of different visuals as well. So of course you've got your traditional heat mapping style for zoning, but then also I'm an advocate for a spreadsheet, very boring. The table view that you can export from zoning as well is really helpful for someone that may be better just with a table of information. So we prepared that in both ways because we were having big sessions across function. People digest that data differently.
Sure.
So zoning was great for that. We launched our new view of navigation, I want to say the best part of a month ago now. So we're in flight. Of course, we are using those parts of the tool, again, to better understand, has anything changed immediately in terms of journeys and zoning?
Yep.
But then we've also started to incorporate dashboarding and session replay. So we were an early adopter of the session replay summaries,
Absolutely.
which have been very helpful to kind of understand any potential new frustrations with navigation that we have implemented, and equally any good successes that we're also seeing. It doesn't always have to be the bad things. But also dashboards for people that have interacted with navigation specifically and how their behaviour might differ from someone that has maybe navigated the site outside of our top level navigation. So, like you said, we've kind of dipped into 4 of the core modules to kind of drive this project.
But I love the fact that it is, a cross-module effort for most of these. And I think it's also really interesting about, we talk about daily operations, embedding this into what is your reporting, what do you do on a regular basis. But for some of these larger projects, it might not be as intuitive where to start. Or I think the other thing that really resonates, and I think any industry, this is true, you really have customers that are of multiple maturities. They may be experts at finding what's on your site, which, that's great. But actually, there's a lot of uninformed consumers as well. And when you work in it, it's so hard to remember that.
Yeah.
So I think using the data and really going to the data for that opinion rather than starting with your own assumptions is really critical.
Yeah, for sure. I think we'll get onto opinions at another point as well. I think, of course, depending on your level of knowledge within the business and how closely you sit towards the commercial side or customer journeys, naturally anyway, there again will be opinions within the organisation on how best to do it too. So it's not all about just stripping out that difference between us as individuals, but also just looking at what people are doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, second use case, notification center that you guys launched, which I think is amazing, and you've also done that in partnership with Monetate. So walk us through, the purpose of that, what you've done, and also that cross-tech moment of how you've leveraged both tools.
Yeah, sure. So we're currently using Monetate to help power our newly launched notification center on the site. We've got a couple of interesting notifications there, if you can read them.
Feel free to enjoy.
On your phone, have a little look. We've worked with Monetate first on testing the notification center as a concept. That is now newly live across all of our markets, but now we're in the place where we are testing the messaging that we will be hosting within the notification center itself, testing some more brand-led content, promotionally led, category-led, position of the week and squirting are two of the current examples that we're testing. And we're looking at plugging these notification center tests that we are running into Contentsquare to better understand not only interaction with notification center itself, but then the journeys people are taking after that. So these are, of course, quite content-driven activity. We want to understand as to whether that changes the customer's shopping intent after that. I think advice plays a very important part of what we do at LoveHoney. Not everybody knows everything about LoveHoney. So providing that advice in the right place is really important. We're getting to the stage now where we've tested out a few of the initial messages that we want to try, and we're looking at doing in-session prompts for messages as kind of a next step. And I think Contentsquare might actually help us inform first where to embed those messages in the journey, but then also, like I said, to start with how people behave afterwards.
Now, I think that impact quantification, if you're going to do something like messaging, ensuring that it's leading people to the right parts of the product, having the intended impact, but also maybe just looking at some of the open journeys to be able to see what are people's natural behavior when you interrupt and add in this new messaging. You might even learn something you weren't expecting. Yeah,
for sure. I think to start with, it was the shiny new place that you could put a promotional banner, which I know we're all guilty
Don't do that.
Yeah, we're all guilty of, but we want to make sure that we're using the space effectively.
Absolutely. Okay, talking a little bit of the future, coming back to the future, there's a project that you have that's really kind of, I think, universal. It's a PDP redesign. Walk us through how you're going to do that with data-led decision-making, what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think the fun example from this morning was that it was used in your Sense demo.
Yes, it was.
As the use case. So it's like, okay,
foreshadowing.
Great. I can just plug it into there and it will do it for me. No, I think opinion is a big thing where it's come through for PDP redesign. We've kept on the space theme with Buzz Lightyear. Everybody thinks they know what the best PDP will be. But I did say, I think Jenna and I were chatting last week about this, and if we gave everyone in LoveHoney a piece of paper and got them to draw out their perfect PDP, they'd all be very different. So Contentsquare, again, take us back to how the customer is currently actually interacting with our current PDP. So zoning, again, I think going to be a big part of that project and really understanding engagement across the PDP in particular. Also looking at where in journey people are likely to reach PDPs might inform a few decisions. We've also done a lot of testing already on PDP, but of individual elements as opposed to like a full redesign. So we've got quite a lot of learning already that we can pull into that view and use tools like Impact Quant that we've not mentioned yet, I think, where we can plug in particular segments to say if someone interacted with this as opposed to this, what's the potential benefit of doing so. So
amazing.
Yeah, I think
you got a plan.
Yeah, I think so. I think the opinion part is always the first barrier, where everyone's so excited and wants to get their thoughts heard.
Always.
Yeah, we can plug in the actual view of what the customer's doing as well.
And I think that is one of the power I think all of us have bought into, is that without data, it's just an opinion. And it's so hard to combat those when you have hard data in front of you.
Yeah.
To be able to say, sorry, that's actually not the right answer. And you've built that culture to lean on data, then it really helps you make better data-led decisions and less opinion-led problems.
Yeah, and I think, again, to loop back to where we were saying that we've kind of got commercial champions as well as already, thankfully, some tech champions for this as well, where we might be coming at it from a slightly different angle. We're still using the same tool to kind of come to a decision together on some of these elements. Yep. It isn't that they're using something, we're using something, and then we're coming in with a complete mismatch.
Yeah, you're talking about this up front.
Yep.
Amazing. All right, we're going to go back to AI because we couldn't get through the session without talking about Sense and the amazing capabilities that it's going to unlock for everybody. But you got a sneak peek of this last week. So you've been thinking about it a little bit longer than the rest of us. What are you most excited about? What's it going to unlock for your teams?
I think at a first view, you'd go, oh, that's great for new users. Anybody that's coming in without having done any of the Contentsquare certifications, any of the university pieces. They could come in and just have a natural conversation with the tool and get some insight immediately. And I think also it then prompting maybe what to do next is going to be great. But I think there's equal value in people that have used the tool for years. I know I am one of them, and I'm guilty of just jumping straight into the modules. I think even with the automation that you have in the platform already, we don't make the most of it. I think there's quite a lot of opportunity there for us to do that, but then also to speed up that first kind of touch point. Like we always, like you say, you'll go into the module that you prefer the most to start with. But yeah, I think that there should be natural usage within the existing users as well of Sense. I think, I'm very excited to get my teeth stuck in.
I can't wait to see what the adoption looks like at LoveHoney, a company that has clearly built this in as an embedded part of your culture, and you're really data-led in how you operate. So I can't wait to see how it really changes your organization, and maybe you can report back to us as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think just quickly on the session replay
summaries. Oh, yes, the thing you've already started using.
Yes, the one that we've already kind of got stuck in.
Hopefully you don't also have an intern that sat there and watched session replays for hours.
Thankfully not, no. I think it is very easy to get lost in session replay. I've been guilty of it maybe a couple of times myself. I think the summaries, for good or for bad, will no doubt be helpful for us. The navigation project was, of course, one of the first use cases that we've called upon for it. But I think it could also be really helpful in PDP redesign. I didn't mention that a minute ago, but it definitely, fits the bill.
Well, I can't wait for you to get stuck in, as well as the rest of you. And as we had announced earlier today, everybody that is here at the conference today gets Sense turned on, so you're going to be able to play with it, get your hands on it, actually be able to use the tool. So I can't wait to hear from you and from everybody else about the real practical applications and how this is going to change your businesses. So get in, turn it on, make sure that you're actually using the tool and report back. Okay, we have one final topic I just wanted to hear about is what is going on, what's next for LoveHoney. Oh, too far. No. There we go. What are you most excited about? Any big projects we should know about? What's on the horizon for you?
So peak is around the corner. I know it's not immediately around the corner, but
Christmas in July?
Yeah, Black Friday in July is that one.
God. When she said this morning, the whole Black Year thing, I was like, please, dear God.
Yeah,
I'm already seeing like mince pies in September in Sainsbury's, and I'm like, please stop, it's too early.
Yeah, so the marker of the start of peak for us is usually Advent calendar season. So that has just got earlier and earlier every year now. We are, I think, mid-August now, which it makes me feel sick every time I think about it, because it never seems to stop as a conversation for us. So really excited.
It's like tax season.
Yeah.
It just keeps coming around.
It just creeps up every time. Advent calendars on the horizon, looking to do lots of testing for, I think, what is our 10th year of Advent calendars. So we were quite early adopters of that front. If you want your sex toy Advent calendar, you know where to come to. So Advent, of course, Black Friday. It's not just Black Friday. We've got some exciting things in the pipeline with Monetate to test through that period as well. Nice. I think for a lot of businesses, sometimes peak is a bit of a lockdown period. Don't touch anything, don't test anything, just run it. We have the benefit of being quite flexible in that space. We have the autonomy, which is great, to actually continue to test in those high traffic times. But to loop back to AI, because we probably couldn't not loop back to AI.
No, please loop back to AI.
Where we've been talking about navigation changes, we've run a lot of those changes through our UK and US markets to start with. In Australia, we've kind of dubbed that market as a bit of our guinea pig market. It's a place where we can be a little bit bolder, a little bit braver with changes, and it not be hugely detrimental if it goes wrong. We soft launched our own AI assistant last year. I think newly dubbed the Pleasure Assistant by the Australia team.
Very exciting.
This tool, again, is an AI agent that you can chat to about any product recommendations. I think if I was selfishly looking at it from a trading point of view, I hope everyone goes in and just says, what's the best burrito? I want to buy it. That's not what people are doing. We're seeing people actually have conversations looking for advice within the tool. Again, to loop back to the category not being overly familiar for everybody. People are asking it for advice. So it's pulling from our own product data as well as all the blogs and advice guides that LoveHoney have written over the years to inform that conversation. Again, it's learning as it goes. And in Australia in particular, we're testing that as part of our navigation. I think we still haven't found the perfect place within Journey to prompt people with that at this point. But we're forever learning on where that best sits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is really exciting to hear you're launching your own AI agent.
Yeah.
And I think also just a really nice application of you have incredible data, blogs, and to be able to service your customers in a really naturally, authentic way
Yeah.
at the time that they need the advice, I think is going to help that loyalty and engagement with your site that they already might have.
Yeah, for
Really
sure.
exciting. I can't wait to hear about it. And, if you guys want to look at where Contentsquare is going to actually show the impact quantification as well about those journeys that use your AI agent, I think a really nice place to look for the value of that and how it rolls out.
Yeah, for sure. I think when we first soft launched the product last year, we kind of put it in all markets in some quite obvious spaces, but people that maybe had a bit of an idea of what they wanted to interact with were very easily bypassing it. I think we need to find the best place to serve it to customers when they're maybe a little bit stuck on what they want to know about,
Sure.
or maybe, hopefully, what they want to buy at some point.
Commercial impact, we get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for the insights. A round of applause for Kayleigh. Thank you so much. I think it's something else that I just absolutely love about the Contentsquare community is that I think a lot of people think, oh, I can only look to my left and my right and my direct competitors for insights. But as we talk about with our benchmark reporting, it's so important that you're looking at the entire digital space because your customers are being informed from every single touch point they're having. Amazon, Netflix, Facebook might not be your competitors, but they definitely are in terms of the experiences that are informing their expectations. So I hope all of you have taken some things from Kayleigh's talk, even if you aren't in the sex toy industry, because I actually think so much of what you're doing is just universally applicable, and the way you operate as a digital team is genuinely inspiring. So thank you for sharing and being open to do that. We'll leave you today with my request to all of you is just, we've given you a lot to think about. We've given you some new tools. So what are you going to do differently next week? So my call to action for all of you is, one, identify a new use case for Sense and Copilot, and whether that's onboarding new people or just encouraging everyone in your team to think about going in and asking one natural language question and seeing what happens. Second, audit your team's adoption. You've heard from Kayleigh, you've heard from me, the operations that you can be a bit more like NASA and really iterate and think about Contentsquare like a product. Really apply a new tactic that we've shared today to really increase your adoption, get it broader, get it higher, make sure you're getting the most value out of that $8 million paintbrush. And then number three, ask your lovely CSMs and reach out to Contentsquare. I know that we are serving so many new tools at you and so much opportunity, but that can be a bit intimidating and it's hard, and you all have full-time jobs anyway. So make sure that you ask your CSMs and come to our websites for curated enablement content on all of these and more. Again, my name is Jenna, and this is Kayleigh, and thank you so much for your time. If you have questions afterwards, we're happy to take them, but I think we're right up on time. So I think, do you want to ask questions? Or?
Yeah, we're just going to the next slide.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much.